Likkutei Dvarim Aleph Eis Gimel. We learned a few lines into it. Okay, now the Rabbi is explaining that the ideal way of bringing down Elokus into the world, which is the purpose of the neshama coming into the body, is through Avos Hashem, in a way that you awaken this tremendous love for Hashem, and you feel bad that you're distant from Hashem and so on. He says, this is the way it's supposed to be. But it's not like that. Instead of being embittered from the fact that we're far away from Hashem, the person doesn't care about that. He cares about gashmistic things he doesn't have. The same thing, instead of having simcha about godliness, he has simcha about worldly things. This is where, we learned a few more lines. Of the nefshel kids and nefesh habamis, even this is what it says. Tzion b'mishpat tipadem. Tzion is redeemed with the mishpat. Tzion lashon siman. Ano simano. What does it mean? Tzion b'mishpat tipadem. Tzion, Zion will be redeemed with mishpat, with Torah. But here he says Tzion. Tzion refers Tzion refers, the translation Tzion is like a siman, a sign. So the sign represents the level of the neshama that's concealed in the body. It's only a sign of the original, neshama. And he says that refers to pnimius, alev ava tivis ava pnimius. Hamustaris belev ish Yisrael. That refers to the level of the neshama which is concealed within every Jew. So what does the pasuk say? The neshama is in golus, in the body, Yetzer Hara. If you want to redeem it, meaning that the neshama should get out of its golus of the body and nefesh habamis, so that's who mishpat. Tzion, which refers to the neshama, not only the Zion, the people. Tzion refers to the neshama. V'gam hi begolus, and it's also in golus. So therefore it says tipada b'tzedakah. Tifta b'mishpat hainu halachas. Like the Targum says on the pasuk kamishpat orishen kehilchas hikadmaisa. There's a pasuk by Yosef and the brothers with the butler and the butler and the baker. So Yosef told the butler he's going to go back kamishpat orishen. So the Targum says it means like the first halacha, the way it was. So you see, mishpat means halacha. Hainu k'mei shamer azal, like Chazal say, ein a golius miskanches. The only way Golus is going to end, basically gathered together back out of Golus, el b'schus ha-mishnayis. The Gemara says that what's going to get the Jews out of Golus? Mishnayis. Why? Okay, so he says like this. How do you read? Ideally, the neshama should want only elokus. It should only feel bad of its lack of elokus. Factually, it's the opposite. We feel bad because we don't have meat in the 9 days. We feel good when we have meat in there. So the bottom line is, how do you redeem the neshama from its golus in the body? So he says, through Torah, through halacha, through Mishnah. And then it says, Vishaveha literally means it's returnees. But Shavel also means a level of tshuva. Vishaveha, by the way, is plural. It's return plural. That refers to Beis Chaloli Alev, the two parts of the heart, Shem Shvu Yemamish, which are imprisoned to the Nefesh Habamis. Who controls the heart? The Nefesh Habamis. Because the bitterness that's supposed to be from the distance from Hashem, now what is it bitter about in the body? Gashmistic of things it's bitter about. The same thing, simcha, that's supposed to come from mitzvah. They're mamish imprisoned. In other words, the merirus is imprisoned, the bitterness is imprisoned, and the simcha is imprisoned. Instead of having simcha of kedusha and bitterness and distance from Hashem, it's the opposite. So those two, v'shaveha, its returnees, plural, is through tzedakah. Masha'en came b'chinas siyin. This level of tziyin, she'ein b'china zu b'lu'um hazeh. There is no level of kedusha, of the neshama in evil. V'hei me'yipadu b'tzedakah. And therefore, how do you return v'shaveha? That's redeemed b'tzedakah. In other words, the neshama that's in the body, that's in galus. How do you get it out of galus? Through Torah. How do you get the fact of meridus and simcha in the wrong ways? That is with tzedakah. What is tzedakah? Rachmanas. The level of Yaakov Avinu, pity. Rachmanas ala ani. You have pity on the poor person. Mida connected mida then. When we have a rachmanas on ourselves, Hashem has pity on us. Because Hashem reacts the way we act. So if we feel bad, seriously, that the neshama is far from Hashem, so then Hashem has rachmanis on us. The same bino liba. Okay. And look in the Gersa Kodesh. What is the level of tziyin? Kisham tziva Hashem es bracha. That's where Hashem commanded the bracha. Kamesha kasiv be'idrazuta. Hade b'shebechinu madreges bracha now. That's the level of tziyin. The level of tziyin represents a level of ava that the neshama in essence has, it's not revealed, which is even higher than the level of the regular ava. I just skipped the ayin. Go over Sefer Zayah. What's the level of tziyin? The level mimamakim karasicha Hashem. Out of the depth, I call you Hashem.
It's not connected to Mission Torah.
The what? I don't hear you.
Is this not connected to Mission Torah?
It's all Tziyim b'mishpat tipades kimitziyin teitzei. Yes, it's all interconnected. But basically, what he's saying is the purpose of the neshama coming into the body is to have the merirus and simcha of kedusha. L'poil, it's not like that. So how do you rectify that situation? So you have the neshamas in galus, the merirus and simcha is in galus, but not the way it's supposed to be. So through Torah, halacha, Mishnah, and through the level of rachmanis, tzedakah, that's the way you redeem it. Huh?
Today?
Yeah, today's is your thing. Okay. That's the level of Baruch Vinyan Bracha. He says like this. There's Baruch and there's Bracha. One is masculine and one is feminine. Yeah? So he says, Erais and Chochma Nafkis is the level of Bracha, Baruch. Okay? Torah Shabbat at least is Chochma. That's masculine. Remember, Chochma is masculine, Bina is feminine, father and mother. Lochein Tziyim, which is a level of Bracha, B'mishpat Tipada, meaning Aidei Hilchas HaTorah. And look at all that. And therefore, Tziyin is the level, the gematria of Yosef.
Oh.
Yep.
I was telling you that.
That Tziyin equals Yosef. The Rebbe spoke about a million times about the Friedrich Rebbe, but anyway.
Yeah, tell us,
It's all look here. Okay, this is the rest of the Maimon was ayin. Look here. Okay, so no, this is look here. It doesn't even say what. So bottom line is. That's the whole Indian. What the Maimon began seeing with Mishpat Tipada V'Shaveh B'Tzedakah represents, and that's how he went into the whole Aved of the Neshama. Neshama is before world, and therefore the problem is the Neshama comes from this great place into a low place. What's supposed to be is not what it is, and therefore how do you get it back to what it is? Through Tzion, B'mishpat Tibad, and Shavel B'tzlach. Okay.
Which means doing tzedakah? That's how you get it back? Just do tzedakah?
Yeah, a lot of tzedakah. I'll tell you where to make out the check to. But also, no, here it's the Alter Rebbe is really defining tzedakah, rachmanis. When you give money to the poor persons, because you have rachmanis on it. So he says, the tziyim b'mishpat tipada means Torah Torah reveals the neshama. But v'shavel, that you need the level of rachmanis on ourselves. In other words, yeah, obviously, literally it means you have to redeem, that's what the Rebbe said always, tziyim b'mishpat tipada with the learning Torah and tzedakah. But here the Alter Rebbe is explaining that the level of Torah state and Shavel B'Tzedakah means Rachmanis, that we need to have an our neshama, how bad it is that we don't even feel what's right. And then when we have Rachmanis on ourselves, Hashem has Rachmanis on us and gives us the proper perspective of what life should be, not what it is. Yes. Okay, see, let's learn the next Maimer. It's whatever. But out in the Medrash, Parsha Sekev, it says in the Medrash like this: Avram Nasan Leban of Shnei Arisim. Avram Avinu gave two artists, the sharecroppers. Like it says, the Pasuk Yadayt V'Shamu Derech Hashem Lasis Tzedakah Mishpat. Okay, Hashem gave Avram Avinu. Avram gave his children. Like it says, what did he do? He taught his children lases, tzedakah, umishpat. That's what the pasuk says about Avram Avinu. Leman yitzav is bonavas beisei achrov. Yeah, what did Avram Avinu give over to his children? The level of tzedakah and Torah, which is, by the way, the same thing as siyim b'mishpat tipada v'shavel b'tzedakah. So it says, "Afakadosh Baruch Hu zakol shnei arisim, kenegdam chesed v'rachmin." And the Yisrael, the Medrash says, the Yidden got up and kosher when they prepared themselves. Just like the Jews did this by giving tzedakah and Torah, Afakadosh Baruch Hu hevi shalei shekach siv ki harim Moshe v'chasdim itich Amer nachamech Hashem. Basically, Avram Avinu gave over to his children tzedakah mishpat, and therefore Hashem gave to Avram Avinu chesed and rachmin, which again is tzedakah mishpat.
What is this sharecroppers? When did Avram speak to sharecroppers?
No, it's a mashal. It's not Avram Avinu didn't have share. I'm sure he had sharecroppers. Avram was very wealthy.
Very wealthy.
Zevel perdaisav shel Avram v'lei ketziv v'zol shel Avimelech. People say it's better to have the junk of Avram Avinu than the gold and silver of Avimelech.
They make fertilizer.
Okay. In the Indian is like this. We say, Shabchi Yerushalayim es Hashem, Halil lekach tziyeh. Shabchi Yerushalayim es Hashem, that Yerushalayim will praise Hashem, Haliliyah lekach tziyeh. Tziyeh will praise God. Shabchi Yerushalayim es Hashem, Yerushalayim will give shvach, praise to Hashem. And then it says, Halili Elokayach Tziyah. Elokayach will be praised through Tziyah. L'chayda Kashar Tziyin Pnimis. The Yerushalayim. So l'chayda, what's deeper? Yerushalayim or Tziyah? So it says like this. Tziyah, he brings out, is the Pnimis of Yerushalayim. You know, if you have Yerushalayim is a broad word. Tziyah is the essence of Yerushalayim. So l'chayr Tzion is greater than Yerushalayim, right? Yet, when it comes to Yerushalayim, it says Shabchi Yerushalayim es Havaya, and by Tzion it says Elokim, Elokayach. One second. If Tzion is greater than Yerushalayim, and Havaya is greater than Elokim, it would make sense that Tzion has Havaya and Yerushalayim is Elokim. Yet the pasuk says the opposite. Shapchi Yerushalayim es Havaya, Hali Elokayach Tzion. So Lachai says, Lachai, the Kasha Tzion is Pnimis Yerushalayim, and therefore Ulaman is Kagabi Yerushalayim. Shem Havaya and Vagabi Tzion Shem Elokim. Okay, very simple question. If we're talking about Yerushalayim praising Hashem and Tzion praising Hashem, obviously Tzion is a greater level of praise than Yerushalayim because it's a deeper level. When you understand the greatness of somebody better, you can praise them better. So obviously Tzion is the pnimis of Yerushalayim, so Tzion has a better understanding of godliness than Yerushalayim does. So why is Yerushalayim praising Havaya, Yudke Vavke, and Tzion is only praising Elokayach Tzion, the level of Elokim? It should be the other way around.
What's the source of Tzion?
No, he says Tzion represents the pneumius of Yerushalayim. Ki mitzion teitei Torah, udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. So again, in the same pasuk, Tzion is deeper, greater than Yerushalayim.
Higher than Dvar Hashem, Dvar Hashem.
Yeah, but this is Torah.
Yerushalayim is more physical.
Torah.
Tzion. Yerushalayim is more physical. Tzion
It's
is
not,
more
we're talking in spiritual realms, Yerushalayim is lower than Tzion is.
It's more physical.
Connected with David HaMelech.
What, David HaMelech?
Soon. Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. As they say in English, we'll live and learn. So he says like this. Ach inye dine ksiv yismach yisol ba'esav minatin gil v'malkum. Yismach yisol ba'esav. The Hashem Abidid will be happy with the one that made him. B'nei Tzion yegilu b'malkum. The Yidden, B'nei Tzion, will rejoice in their king. Mavor b'malkum achid. And the Maimer says, Hashem, the B'chin is Gila, Hainu K'meshul Kosev v'Gilo Berada. And the B'chin is Gaver Yesem Yasimcha. We say in Sheva Brachas, Gila, Rina, Ditza, V'chedva. Okay. So you have Simcha and you have Gila. Which one's higher? So Gila is higher than Simcha.
One is internal, one is external?
No, he says like this, he explains. At the beginning of Tillim it says, Vegilu ber Oda. They will rejoice trembling. Okay? It's interesting, during the Yom Kippur War, everybody was very depressed because the beginning of Yom Kippur War wasn't going too good. It wasn't going well at all. They broke through the bar left. I mean, there was a lot of issues then. So they were saying, and the Rebbe came out then, Sukkah, went into Sukkahs. So the Rebbe is explaining on that Sukkahs that you have to have Simcha. You have to be the Simcha. Sukkahs, Manseinu. The Rebbe's opinion was, there's a problem, Simcha breaks it. Simcha put it together. Simcha breaks all barriers. The Rebbe's opinion always was, God forbid somebody's sick, don't get depressed, be happy. This is the, be happy. So the Rebbe spoke many sikhs then during the Yom Kippur War, that it has to be the level of the Gilu Beroda. You have to rejoice with trembling. Now, seemingly, they're two opposites. You don't tremble when you're happy, and when you're happy, you don't tremble. So how does it work? So obviously, we know what combines two opposites, a level above both. So how can you have Gilu Beroda? How can you have joy, rejoicing, trembling? That's because you tap into a level that good and bad, happiness and trembling is all the same. Simcha is open simcha. Okay? Rejoice is not happy. Happiness you see much more on the person's face than when he's rejoicing. Rejoicing is a much deeper level than the level of simcha. Therefore, because it's a much deeper level, you can have two opposites at the same time. Gilu berad.
Simcha more physical.
Simcha is more outgoing, more gechitzenius. Right. When a person's happy, you see it on their face.
So when the Rebbe would say simcha poretz gel, Hashem simcha, it's an external simcha. It's not the gila.
No, but you can't get to the Panimya Simcha in the way you are now. First, you need the external level of Simcha. Then you can get to the deeper level of the Gilu.
In Yiddish, you have also two terms. In Yiddish,
No.
Freilach, right, is one level, and they have the other.
Okay. And it says that the Gilu, lustig and freilich, yeah. Wie beginnen gebe Yosef Simcha, like it says, Riki Yiskalus, so Ava Vayira. Machmes Hagili, Mechinas Vaneda Kel Elyein. And he says, the Gam Gila is also Simcha, Shebepnimius Halev. Simcha is more internal, so it's not as revealed as Simcha. So therefore, Gila is a level of Seviv Kol Almin, and Simcha is Mamala Kol Almin. It says, Alma Diskasya, Ukenyan Luchas Achrein Shenitnu B'Chashoy. Chassidus explains, you have the first Luchas, the second Luchas. The difference between the first Luchas, why they broke, and the second Luchas were done quietly, so Chassidus explains, well the Medrash says it. The Luchas Shnias that were given B'Chashoy, that lasted. Meaning, the first Luchas was a whole party, the whole fanfare. All the Jews came, and there was this, and the preparation, the whole commotion of Luchas Rishonis broke. Second Luchas, Moshe Rabbeinu was himself up in the heaven, he did it himself quietly. You accomplish much more by doing things quietly than you do with the tumult.
Under the radar.
The Rebbe spoke, I mean, it's not exactly the same concept. When they're demonstrating for Russian Jewry, everybody was demonstrating all the... And the Rebbe was adamantly against it. The Rebbe said, you're making it worse.
Right.
Huh?
Send me Gilad Shalit.
Triple S J.
What?
Gilad Shalit, when everybody was, the prisoner, the Israeli guy.
That's a different thing. The demonstrations against the Russians, the Rebbe said factually that it hurt more than it did good. The Rebbe said, the Rebbe was, Russian and lived through the Rafidik Rebbe, Russian, the communist, okay? The Rebbe said, I know that country. You want to get things accomplished, you do it back door, quietly. That's where you get it. When you make a tumult, they go against it. There was a whole issue when they used to send, and that's where the Rebbe worked B'chlal. They used to send, remember those years ago, during the communist regime, it's a whole thing about sending matzahs to the Jews in Russia for Pesach, and again, a whole ganze fight, yeah? The Rebbe was already sending matzahs to Russia in Cheshvan. Right after Tishrei, they already were baking matzahs for Russia. Because then, there was no tumult yet. Oh, Pesach! Quietly, they were able to get in tons and tons of matzah into Russia because it was done quietly. And you see this even by Torah. The first luchas were given with a commotion, it broke. You want to get things done, you do it quietly. Well, in life, we know, you want to accomplish something, you do it quietly. Then it's much... first luchas broke, and the second luchas lasted.
But you have to accord.
What?
But you have to accord the Torah.
I understand, but sometimes Torah says, like Halacha says, you always ask the experts. Torah says you ask experts. If you want to know if somebody should fast on Tisha B'Av Yom Kippur, you don't ask a politician. You don't ask an engineer. Yeah. We'll leave it just at that. Yeah? You don't, who do you ask? You ask a doctor, correct? Medical things, you ask the expert in medical who's officially a doctor. Yes? Okay. The Rebbe was screaming about giving back land, which the present government is really doing a bad job at. The Rebbe said, when you're talking about security, who are the experts in security? The army. not the politicians. Who knows security, what's safe and what's not safe? Right? The halacha is, the logic is, the army experts are the experts in security. Therefore, you don't ask a politician if he should give back land in Camp David. What you do is you ask the experts, the soldiers. All the soldiers say 100% don't give back land because it's dangerous. There's no buffer zone. You're giving that mamish oil. You're giving back what the Jews did, right? Anyway, there is two aspects of what the Rebbe was fighting. Number one, Eretz Yisrael, that's biblical Eretz Yisrael, is a pasuk in Vazchan Leisechanim. You're not allowed to give back land to Goyim that belong to Eretz Yisrael. Okay? That's one issue. Which is a negative commandment of the Torah. You're not allowed to give back the land to Goyim. Then the Rebbe said even Sinai, the Sinai Peninsula, which is not biblical Eretz Yisrael, that they gave back, the Rebbe was screaming against it. Why? Besides the fact there was oil and there was a buffer zone, and all the experts say if the Jews own Sinai Peninsula, there is a buffer zone, it's safer for the Jews. So that you are not allowed to give back, not because it's Eretz Yisrael that you're giving back. You're not allowed to give it back because it's sakana. And who is to decide what sakana is? Not the politicians, but the military people, because they're the experts in security. And the same thing, when you're dealing with Russians, you have to ask, not the American rabbis that don't know, the Russians used to call, I know because the guys, my Russian friends in yeshiva, they weren't Russian, their parents were Russian. They used to call the American soldiers chokoladniks.
What?
Chokoladniks. Chokoladniks. You know what chocolate is?
Yes.
Okay. The Russian soldiers, the Russians, used to laugh at the American soldiers. You give them a piece of chocolate to make them happy. So used to call them chokoladniks. Okay? So you don't ask American people what's safe in Russia, what's the appropriate thing to... Yeah, it sounds good, politically you scream and yell, but sometimes you make it worse. Right? I just read a story. A guy was on a plane, or whatever, and somebody fainted. So a guy jumped over and was working on him. All of a sudden this lady comes, I'm a nurse, get out here, I know what to do. So okay, he leaves. And then he says, when he gets to the part that says, ask the doctor, you'll call me. This guy was a doctor, and she threw him away. He went quietly, he was saving the patient, you know what I mean? When he gets to the part, ask the doctor, call me.
Wow.